Season of sorrow. Ìròyìn Ìbànújẹ. The days after I paid for the boys' WAC form stretched into weeks, and weeks became months. At first, there was a quiet satisfaction in my heart. I would smile whenever I thought about the look in his eyes as he walked away that evening. Hope had been lit in him, and I felt like I had done something good for the world. But soon, life began to tighten its grip on me like a python slowly coiling around its prey. The government school where I taught was always in crisis: no chalk, broken chairs, leaky roofs. Then came the notice: teacher downsizing. Names were listed, read aloud at the assembly ground, and just like that, I was unemployed. I remember standing under the almond tree as the headmaster's voice echoed through the cracked megaphone, reading the list. My heart sank when I heard my name. My students looked at me with wide eyes, some whispering in shock, others too busy chasing one another to notice that my world had just shattered. I went home numb that day. I locked my gate, sat on the mat in my one-room apartment, and stared at the wall. How would I survive? My rent was due soon, my mother's health was failing, and my savings were barely enough to last 2 months. For the first time in years, I felt the heavy weight of despair pressing on my chest. Then came the sickness. My mother, my rock and prayer warrior, fell ill. It started with mild fevers and coughs, but soon she couldn't get out of bed. I rushed her to the government hospital where patients spilled into the corridors, waiting for hours. The doctor said she needed tests: malaria, typhoid, maybe pneumonia. Each test cost money. Each drug cost money. I withdrew the last 10,000 Nigerian nairas in my account and spent it all within a week. My heart broke as I watched her lose weight, her once lively face now hollow. She would hold my hand at night and whisper between coughs: "Omo mi, mo iyago fonaya. Oloron mo saibukuan o." My child, do not run from doing good. God will reward you. I did not know it would be one of the last things she would ever say to me. One dawn, as the muezzin's call to prayer echoed faintly from the nearby mosque, my mother took her last breath. The room fell silent. I sat there, numb, until tears flooded my face. The neighbors came, women wailing, some helping me make arrangements. I buried her in our ancestral village, under the mango tree she had planted years ago. Returning to Ibadan after the burial felt unbearable. The house felt empty, her wrapper still hanging on the wall, her favorite stool by the corner untouched. I couldn't stay. The walls of the city felt too close, the memories too heavy. I sold my small gas cooker, my old fan, and packed my belongings into 2 wooden boxes. Ibadan had given me memories, but Lagos was where people went when they had nowhere else to turn. The day I boarded the bus to Lagos, I sat by the window as the vehicle rumbled along the expressway. The brown roofs of Ibadan stretched out behind me, getting smaller until they vanished from sight. Tears slipped down my cheeks. Where am I going? What will become of me? I asked silently, clutching my handbag like a lifeline. Lagos greeted me with its characteristic chaos. The downfall conductors shouting at the top of their voices, "Odulegba Street. CMS. Enter with your change o," the thick smell of roasted corn, puff-puff, and exhaust fumes mixing in the air. My cousin, a tailor, welcomed me to her one-room apartment in Mushin. She was kind, but the space was already cramped: her husband, 3 children, and now me. At night, I slept on a thin mattress on the floor, squeezed between 2 of her children. Life in Lagos was survival. Every morning, I woke before dawn, quickly bathed with a bucket of cold water, dressed carefully, and set out with my brown envelope full of CVs. I joined the human flood at Oshodi bus stop, sometimes standing in the scorching sun for hours before a downfall stopped. I would drop my CV in offices, banks, schools, even restaurants, and most times, no one called back. There were days when I could not afford transport fare. I would trek long distances from Yoba to Surale, my shoes coated with dust, sweat soaking my dress, just to deliver one more CV. Some offices turned me away at the gate. Some promised to call and never did. My cousin encouraged me, but I could see the strain in her face. Feeding an extra mouth was not easy. I learned to ration my hunger. Some days, I drank Gary with no sugar and went to bed early to silence the gnawing in my stomach. Other days, I skipped dinner so the children could eat more. But every night, as I lay on the floor, I would pray. Oliwa, moje iki mifo. Moje iki orimi ob. Lord, do not let my efforts be wasted. Do not let my destiny fall. Sometimes I would dream of my students back in Ibadan. I would see their faces, hear their chatter, and wake up crying, missing the life I once had. I miss the classroom, the chalk dust, even the noise. I miss my mother's gentle voice urging me to hold on. But Lagos has a way of teaching patience. Slowly, I began to learn the rhythm of the city. I found cheaper bus routes, I started helping my cousin with her tailoring business, and I made friends with other job seekers. We would encourage one another, sharing information about open positions, praying together before interviews. One evening, after a particularly long day of rejections, I sat by the window of my cousin's room, staring at the flickering light bulb. My heart felt heavy, but somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered. Sùúrù ni baba Iwa. Patience is the father of good character. I didn't know it then, but the storm was slowly clearing. My season of sorrow was not the end, it was only preparing me for the day destiny would come knocking again.